At the end of last video, I talked a bit about preference schedules. In this video, we'll do an example. The idea of a preference schedule is that each voter gets a list of the candidates and has to rank them first to last. Then the preference schedule lists how many people had each possible ordering. So the ballot in a voting system like this must look something like this. Then the voter gets to rank the candidates in the order of preference. While this type of ballot is uncommon in the United States, it is very common in countries that use other voting systems such as Australia, Ireland, island nation of Nauru, and it's used in some US state and local elections. As we'll see, it was used for a time in Burlington, Vermont, a case study we'll go into later. This is also how votes for the Associated Press football and basketball rankings work, and votes for the Academy Awards and others. Okay, so that's what a preference ballot looks like, but a preference schedule lists how many people had each possible ordering of the candidates. When I say each possible ordering, I'm considering the ordering BCA from the ballot above to be one possible ordering. And so we'd want to count how many voters use the ordering BCA on their ballot. For example, let's suppose that 12 voters wrote down the ordering ABC, and that 6 voters wrote down the ordering ACB, and so forth. I'll fill out the rest of this preference schedule. Notice that I didn't include the ordering BAC, and when I don't include it, it just means that nobody voted that way, so I usually just won't write it. So again, the way to read this chart is to note that 12 voters ranked the candidates as A, then B, then C. 6 ranked the candidates as A, then C, then B. 15 ranked it as the ballot shown above as B, then C, then A, etc. Also notice that from this information, we can just add those numbers across the top, and we can see that there are 40 voters in total. So remember the plurality voting system. In that system, voters really only needed to say their first choice. But we can still apply the plurality voting system to a preference schedule. All we need to do is just ignore the second and third choices. So looking at just the top row, just people's first choices, we can tally how many voters had candidate A as their first choice, candidate B as their first choice, and candidate C as their first choice. So any of the voters in the first 2 columns had A as their first choice, so 18 voted for A. 15 voted for B in their first choice, and then the last 2 columns had 7 votes for C. So from that information, we can say that using the plurality voting system, the extended ranking of the candidates is A with the most first choice votes, B with the second most, and C with the third most.